Welcome back to the Face of America channel.
Aaron Burr was no ordinary man. He was a Revolutionary War veteran, a brilliant lawyer, and the sitting Vice President of the United States when he shot Alexander Hamilton in a duel. By 1805, Burr was politically radioactive, but not defeated. He turned westward, gathering allies and whispering of a bold plan to lead an expedition into Spanish-held territory, perhaps to liberate Mexico, perhaps to carve out a new empire. He met with General James Wilkinson, a man who wore two faces, one for the U.S. and one for Spain. Burr secured boats, men, and supplies, but what was he really planning? To President Jefferson, it looked like treason. To Burr, it was ambition. To history, it would become a constitutional crucible. Thomas Jefferson, once Burr's political partner, now saw him as a threat to the Republic. In 1806, Jefferson issued a proclamation condemning Burr's expedition and ordered his arrest. He declared publicly that Burr was, quote, guilty beyond doubt, end quote, before any trial had begun. This was a constitutional red flag. The president was accusing a citizen of treason before the courts had spoken. Jefferson's fury was political, but the Constitution demanded legal precision. Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution reads, quote, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court, end quote. This clause was written to bind the government, not the people. It was a shield against tyranny, not a sword for political vengeance. Burr was arrested in the Mississippi Territory and dragged across states to Richmond, Virginia. The trial was a media spectacle. Crowds gathered, newspapers speculated. The government's case was built on rumors, letters, and the testimony of Wilkinson, who it turned out was secretly on Spain's payroll. Chief Justice John Marshall presided. A Federalist and Jefferson's rival, Marshall was known for his sharp mind and deep respect for constitutional limits. The courtroom became a battleground, not just between Burr and the government, but between executive power and judicial restraint. Marshall's rulings were precise and fearless. He refused to let Jefferson's proclamations influence the jury. He demanded that the prosecution meet the Constitution's strict definition of treason. He wrote, quote, the Constitution is a law for rulers and people, equally in war and in peace, and covers with the shield of its protection all classes of men, at all times, and under all circumstances, end quote. This was revolutionary. Marshall was saying that even the most despised citizen, even a man accused of plotting rebellion, was protected by the Constitution. He ruled that intent was not treason, preparation was not treason, words are not treason. Only an overt act of war, witnessed by two people, qualifies. This ruling didn't acquit Burr. It defined treason for all future generations. The government's case unraveled. Wilkinson's credibility was shredded. No overt act of war could be proven. Burr's boats had floated downriver, but no battles were fought. No declarations made, no enemies aided. Marshall excluded speculative evidence. He refused to allow Jefferson's letters to be used as proof. He demanded facts, not fear. The jury deliberated. Burr was acquitted. Jefferson was livid. He believed Burr had escaped justice, but Marshall's ruling stood. The Constitution had spoken. Burr's reputation never recovered. He left for Europe seeking support for his ambitions, but found none. He returned years later, a forgotten man. But the trial's legacy endured. It became the gold standard for judicial independence and constitutional fidelity. The trial echoed the principles of natural law: presumption of innocence, protection from arbitrary power, and the right to due process. These weren't just Enlightenment ideals, they were biblical in origin. Founders believed that law must be rooted in moral absolutes, not political convenience. Marshall's rulings reflected this. He didn't just interpret the Constitution, he defended its soul. Today, many Americans, especially conservatives, feel the Constitution is used against them, not for them. They see political prosecutions, vague accusations, and executive overreach. The Constitution is a shield, not a blanket. It binds the government, not the citizen. Consider January 6 defendants accused of insurrection, but where was the overt act of war? Parents at school board meetings labeled as domestic threats, but where is the treason? Conservatives targeted for speech or assembly, but where is the constitutional violation? Marshall's standard demands proof, not politics. It protects dissent, ambition, and even unpopular speech. To empower others, teach them. Know the text. Article 3, Section 3 is your firewall. Demand evidence. Intent is not a crime. Invoke precedent. Burr's trial is binding history. Challenge overreach. The Constitution is your tool, not theirs. Use Burr's story to show that even the most hated man in America was protected by law. That's the power of the Constitution. Aaron Burr may have been reckless. He may have been ambitious, but his trial became a triumph. Not for him, but for us. It proved that the Constitution is not a relic, it's a living shield. It binds the government, it protects the citizen, and it still speaks today. Let's teach that. Let's use that. Let's live that. Sources for this story are Constitution Center's analysis of the Treason Clause, Federal Judicial Center's detailed trial narrative, Harvard Law Review's exploration of Burr and originalism, History.com's account of the trial's drama, Journal of American History's legal political analysis. Aaron Burr walked free not because he was innocent in spirit, but because the Constitution demanded more than suspicion. It demanded proof. In a moment of national panic, when executive power surged and public opinion roared, it was the quiet strength of the law that prevailed. Chief Justice John Marshall didn't just interpret the Constitution. He enforced its boundaries. He reminded America that the government is not the master of the people, but their servant, that the law binds the rulers, not the ruled. Today, many feel the Constitution is distant, symbolic, or selectively applied, but Burr's trial proves otherwise. It shows that even the most controversial citizen is entitled to due process, that intent is not guilt, and that liberty is preserved by precision, not passion. This is not just history, it's a blueprint, a reminder that the Constitution is not a blanket, it's a shield, and it still stands. Let us teach it, let us use it, let us live it.